Regular builds and restorations, it bores me. Anybody can do that. That's not what I do. I'm an outside-the-box builder.
Whether people watch it because of their astounding work, their magnetic cast, or simply for entertainment purposes, the truth is that Car Masters, Rust to Riches, has done an excellent job at becoming one of the most popular car restoration shows airing on TV nowadays. Many who watch the show will agree that the show is free of drama on and off the screen, so the case of Mark Toll is surprising to say the least. The show's main star, Mark, has had some real-life issues involving his business, a big company, and some copyright laws. DC Comics vs. Mark Toll is not another TV show, but a copyright case heard in the U.S. Court of Appeals, 9th Circuit in September 2015. The case involves Mark Toll, who owns and runs Gotham Garage, and the plaintiff, Warner Brothers. Mark Toll runs his personal business in his garage, so why the lawsuit? Let's find out, shall we?
We're bringing a truck back.
That is the truck. Fleet side, short bed, Chevy truck. It's all there. Most of it, I think.
Car Masters, hosted by Mark Toll, has aired many episodes since its premiere in 2018. The truth is that the origin of Gotham Garage is barely talked about on screen. Fortunately, Mark Toll was thoughtful enough to shed some light on the subject in an interview. According to him, in 1999, he had been working on custom building replicas of the Mach 5, an automobile driven in the Japanese series Speed Racer by the character of the same name. Mark's replicas were popular enough to give him tons of work for months, but it wasn't until a client named Russ Martin asked him to build a Batmobile replica from the 1966 Batman TV series that the business changed forever. Mark built a Batmobile kit for that first project, soon gaining local fame for it. Just so you know, Mark's shop was initially named Mach 5 Factory, but was changed to Gotham Garage after his Batmobile replica became popular. However, he also confirmed that the references to Gotham City in the name are so inspired by the East Coast, the history of cars in the US, his fascination with fiction, and specialization in out-of-the-box projects in his shop. The owner of Gotham Garage produced replicas of the Batmobile versions. The court notes that Mark concedes the fact that the replicas copy the designs of such versions, though they do not copy every feature. Various car collectors were buying these replicas for a price worth $90,000 approximately. Before DC Comics filed a lawsuit, Mark had advertised the replicas he built as the Batmobile and used the domain name BatmobileReplicas.com. Mark himself admitted that the plaintiffs did not authorize him to manufacture such replicas. He also sells kits which customers can use to modify their cars to look like a Batmobile. Hence, a lawsuit was filed in the federal district court claiming infringement of their copyright and trademark protection and causing unfair competition arising out of the replicas being sold in the market. The plaintiff, an American comic book publisher and owner of the comic books featuring the story of Batman, is also one of the oldest and largest American comic book companies. The character in question, the Batmobile, is a fictional high-tech automobile which is the primary mode of transportation for Batman. It possesses bat-like external features and is equipped with futuristic weaponry and crime-fighting technology. Since the creation of the character, it has appeared multiple times in various comic books, television series, and motion pictures. As pointed out by the court, two depictions of the Batmobile are relevant to the case: the 1966 television series starring Adam West and the 1989 motion picture starring Michael Keaton. Mark's Batmobile prompted the Warner Brothers to file a lawsuit in May 2011 in the federal district court alleging causes of action for copyright infringement, trademark infringement, and unfair competition arising out of Mark's manufacture and sale of replicas. The plaintiffs, DC Comics, claimed the infringement of their copyright as the replicas sold by Mark was similar to the ones that appeared in the 1966 television show Batman and the 1989 film Batman. The issue discussed by the court was whether a character in a comic book, television program, or motion picture is entitled to copyright protection. The 9th Circuit followed the precedents and came up with a three-part test to determine the protection given to such characters. The character must generally have physical as well as conceptual qualities. The character must be sufficiently delineated to be recognizable as the same character whenever it appears. It must display consistent, identifiable character traits and attributes, although the character need not have a consistent appearance. The character must be especially distinctive and contain some unique elements of expression. It cannot be a stock character like a magician in standard magician garb. The court applied this test to Batmobile to conclude that the character is the property of DC Comics and is entitled to copyright protection. Mark Toll thus had infringed upon the Warner Brothers copyright. While concluding so, the Ninth Circuit Court affirmed the Federal District Court's judgment. Let's get to know how it played out in the court of law. The issue of dispute, the Batmobile first appeared in the comic books in 1941, 2 years after Batman was introduced. Since then, the car has undergone many transformations. In the 1960s, George Barris built one for the 1960s ABC series Batman, basing his designs on a 1955 Lincoln Futura concept model. In 1989, when the time to make a film based on the Batman franchise came, production designer Anson Furst made his own model and assigned rights to the studio. The defendant, Mark, represented by attorney Larry Zerner, argued that a judge should be careful about deeming automobiles as copyrightable. U.S. copyright law doesn't allow useful articles to be copyrighted, but it does allow elements that are conceptually separable from the utilitarian aspects to gain protection. Mark's lawyer argued that the problem was that Warner's subsidiary DC was claiming that pretty much the entire body of the Batmobile, including the front grille, the fenders, the wheels, the fins, the cockpit, and the exhaust pipe, fell under such protection. The implications of a ruling upholding this standard are easy to imagine. Ford, Toyota, Ferrari, and Honda would start publishing comic books so that they could protect what, up until now, was unprotectable. After much argument between the defendant's lawyer and the plaintiff's lawyer, the judge delivered his verdict. The Batmobile is a character that exists in 2- and 3-dimensional forms. Its existence in 3-dimensional form is a consequence of the Batmobile's portrayal in the 1989 live-action film and 1966 television series. Defendant did not copy the design of a mere car, he copied the Batmobile character. The fact that the unauthorized Batmobile replicas that defendant manufactured, which are derivative works, may be useful articles is irrelevant. A derivative work can still infringe the underlying copyrighted work even if the derivative work is not independently entitled to copyright protection. The judge then explains why he accords the Batmobile with the utmost respect and why the car featured in comic books, television series, and films are more than just functional. He says that the so-called functional elements, such as fictional torpedo launchers and an anti-fire system, are only functional in that they help Batman fight crime. Thus, the Batmobile's usefulness is a construct. Additionally, defendant's argument that Batman is merely a car wholly fails to capture the creativity and fantastical elements that stand apart from the fact that the Batmobile also happens to look like a car. The judge also went into the particulars of the Batmobile to single out what's conceptually separable, such as the Batmobile's entire frame, consisting of the rear exaggerated sculpted bat fin and the mandibular front, which he says can stand on its own without the underlying vehicle. The judge also ruled that not only is the Batmobile copyrightable, but also that Mark has copied the 1966 and 1989 Batmobiles. Further, the judge also grants the plaintiff's motion for summary judgment on the allegation that Mark has infringed the trademarks of the Batmobile. As reported, among the factors that contributed to the victory on the trademark side was that Mark used Batman marks in his advertising, that the Bat design marks are distinct, that most of his customers asked if he had a relationship with the Warner Brothers. The judge also reminded Mark that the studio has licensed toy versions of the Batmobile and that a strong possibility exists that the studio will expand its business to compete with the custom builder of Batmobiles. The Warner Brothers eventually won the lawsuit against Mark, as the court ordered him to pay a sum of $20,000 in damages. What do you think of the case between Mark and Warner Brothers? Do you think Mark was right with his assertion that, if they stopped reproduction of the famous car, it would have a significant impact on automobile makers and manufacturers?